Boris Johnson is whipping up fears of rioting and deaths on the streets if Brexit is not delivered by the 31st of October so that he can try to invoke emergency powers and avoid extending the UK's EU membership beyond that date, Labour's Brexit spokesman, Keir Starmer, claimed on Saturday.
Here's a summary of the article.
Boris Johnson is whipping up fears of rioting and deaths on the streets if Brexit is not delivered by the 31st of October so that he can try to invoke emergency powers and avoid extending the UK's EU membership beyond that date, Labour's Brexit spokesman, Keir Starmer, claimed on Saturday. After a week in which the Prime Minister was accused by MPs from all the main parties, including senior Tories, of inciting violence by accusing Remainers of Brexit surrender and betrayal, Starmer said it was part of an orchestrated plan to stoke a sense of outrage among Leave voters and create civil unrest, so an extension might be avoided. Johnson is expected to continue his attacks on Remainers this week at the Tory conference in Manchester, where the slogan will be "Get Brexit Done." Allies of Johnson have warned in recent days that the UK will face civil disorder on the scale of the Gilets Jaunes protests in France if Brexit were to be delayed or reversed. Another avenue being examined is to censure Johnson should he appear before the liaison committee of MPs. Last week the former Tory Prime Minister John Major said he feared the Johnson government would try to bypass the Benn Act through an order of council. Senior Labour sources played down suggestions by the Scottish National Party that the opposition parties could this week table a vote no confidence in Boris Johnson's government, with a view to installing a caretaker administration led by Jeremy Corbyn, who would then apply for an extension to Brexit and call an election. While Labour is not publicly ruling out the move, shadow cabinet members privately say they will only move once an extension to Brexit has been guaranteed.
This post received a score of 40,024, with an upvote ratio of 86%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Invoke emergency powers. When has that ever gone wrong?
Misa proposed that the Senate give immediately emergency powers to DA Supreme Chancellor.
And Deezer is how liberty dies. With bombard applause. Need to jump straight for the Star Wars reference and ignore the actual reference that happened less than a year ago. Imagine a whole generation being shown the corruption and conspiracies of the late Republic by corporations, leading to the rise of the Empire, only to see it before your eyes 15 years later. The West is also the new Rome, I guess.
If we can last even half as long as Rome did, I'd say it was a solid try.
Our infrastructure will never last 1,500 years though.
Unless we start making our infrastructure exclusively out of plastic.
I think you're onto something. We should reverse all this biodegradable nonsense so that the people who come after us know us after we inevitably kill ourselves off.
You know what makes people riot? Food and medicine shortages.
And we can stop that if you just let us deliver Brexit.
Yeah, people can't riot for long without medicine and food.
Except if it gets that bad, the heads of state would be fleeing for their lives. People don't take hunger well.
There is a nutrition crisis already in the UK, the universal credit victims aren't rioting. Perhaps if the more well-off start missing meals, it might become more likely.
I've seen this argument and I really don't get it. Is he really suggesting that Brexit supporters are so violent that even another delay to the process would lead to riots and deaths, but the 48% who are opposed to it aren't violent enough to riot? And because of this we should be doing what the violent people want so they don't get more violent?
It's the two standard tactics of people like him, the people of entitlement, that have ruled Britain for centuries. They've played the blame game with Ireland and tried to make it about Ireland being the ones holding up the process when in reality they drew the border and divided Ireland, and the backstop is a British concept. They've gotten nowhere, because Ireland is the EU and part of something bigger. I just hope this Brexit debacle will open the eyes of the British people to their lies and self-serving agendas.
I get that that's the point, but the whole argument, and I've heard it from others too, basically hinges on framing their own side being violent criminals who have to be appeased, which isn't exactly a great look when you're on that side.
The basic thought is that being violent criminals for the right reasons shows strength and determination, in these people's eyes. Willingness to do what's needed and all that. They're morons who think that being intimidating is a good way to get what you want. People who think that bullying is not just acceptable but merely the way of the world.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.